Hi guys, and welcome back to yet another podcast in cars. I apologize for the very bad lighting, but unfortunately it's winter now, which means that lighting is rubbish, and that the sun only comes up now. Anyway, the topic for today's video, I'm going to take it away from kind of the past couple videos because they've all kind of been relating to each other. This video I wanted to talk about electric cars. Again, I know I've discussed this on the channel before. However, I stumbled across a video on TikTok yesterday about a company that has done an electric swap on an old classic Porsche. However, it's got a manual. It's got a manual gearbox. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. They didn't show you how the manual gearbox works at any point, but I thought I'd discuss it nonetheless because I thought it was quite interesting. So I'm going to link that video down in the description below. If I haven't, I'm going to put it on screen now. If that hasn't happened, then check the description. Anyway, what I just wanted to comment on was like a couple of things. So firstly, they said for like city driving and town driving and so on and so forth, your casual driving, essentially, those modes, if you will, because a lot of cars have like a sports mode plus, a race mode, a casual mode or comfort mode, if you will. So I'm assuming if you've got it swayed to the comfort mode, then I don't actually know if this boy here, the little gear lever, where you put that. Maybe you have to put it in like an auto mode of some form. I don't know. Perhaps it's very similar to like the Koenigsegg. I can't remember the new one, that was like made as a homage vehicle. Homage, I should say. Where it's got the automatic and manual box. I don't know. Anyway, my point is, so then it can drive on automatic where you don't have to bother changing gears. However, they've said when you go onto like a toge road, mountain road, or you want to just do a sick burnout in first gear, you just, put it in first gear and then off you go, and you can hit a limiter and the car will actually make noise. It will actually have a stall speed, and like you'll need to use the clutch pedal so it can actually physically stall and stuff. I don't know how any of that is going to work. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't know how any of that is going to work. I don't understand even the mildest concept of that. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. However, the main reason why I wanted to talk about this is if this is the future, electric cars, I mean, and then this is an available option, I'm very keen, because I know automatics are faster. Or for example, like the Rimac Navera whatever thing that just has a singular gear that like just accelerates. That's obviously the fastest that you could potentially get, I guess. But for some of us, speed is not the point. Again, like my little MX-5 here, not all of us are building our car to be like top speed demons or drag strip demons where we just destroy everything else. Some of us just want a fun car to drive around, and having a manual gearbox adds to the driver experience, even if it is slower. And I'll even upfront admit here, I've noticed that my car is slower. Like when I'm versing the, what's it called, the DSG, I believe is the flappy pedals that have the farts in the middle. Those cars like Golf R's, Scirocco R's, and so on and so forth, sometimes they'll pull on me quickly, especially like the BMs, the upper side BMs and stuff. They'll pull on me really fast, simply because the time that it takes me to change gears, especially considering it's a 30-year-old crunchy gearbox, crunk 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 into gears, it takes a while, even if it's a short throw and so on and so forth. So I'm going to be honest, if this is the future of electric cars, I can kind of get behind it. Obviously, it's still missing a little bit of a something where, it's got like grumbles and moans and pops and bangs and so on and so forth. Not that I care much for the pops and bangs, but I mean, it adds some character between gears. You know, you're going full throttle, change gears, pa-pa, pa-pa. It'd be great. But it's a step in the correct direction. Now, I don't want companies to go in the direction of like what Dodge has done, where they have the electric motor where when you press the throttle, it goes woo, woo. No, please stop. Don't do this. Car manufacturers, please do not do this. Like, we don't care for this. Please stop. Artificial noises are terrible. I'd rather have something that just amplifies the noise of the electric motor, to be honest. I don't know what noise the electric motor makes, but at least I'll have the comfort of mind knowing that that's the actual sound of the car. I don't know. Anyway, my point being, I'm not the biggest fan of electric cars, as per most of my audience, I'm sure. Because we like our old combustion engines that shoot flames and make good noises and has a manual gearbox. But, you know, like I said, this is a step in the correct direction. Now we have a manual gearbox option for electric cars. I know Toyota was working on the same thing, but I've heard also a lot of people just mock it, and apparently you can basically just leave it in first gear and the car will continue to accelerate. It might make fake noises telling you it's hitting a rev limiter or something, but the car will just continue as if it's in automatic anyway. It will actually change gears itself and so on and so forth. It's just essentially a toy for you to go when you feel like. Which, that disappoints me if it is like that, but I suppose the information I could have gotten is wrong. But this Porsche that I saw them put into it, I don't know, I quite like the idea of this, and I quite like, I don't know, I like the idea, I like the concept, I like the thoughts behind it. I think, if I remember correctly, I've seen electric cars with sequential gearboxes before. But I might be wrong about that. I have a faint memory of like a slant nose Porsche, like a classic slant nose Porsche kit car body kit, wide body boy. I don't want to say kit car because I think it was actually a genuine Porsche, but anyway. And it had an electric swap in it. And I'm pretty certain that was... No, sorry, it didn't have a sequential. It was just rear wheel drive. That was one of the first electric cars that I had seen that was only rear wheel drive orientated. Like, it wasn't an all-wheel drive conversion like a lot of them land up becoming. So yeah, I don't know, you know what I think I like most about it, because I don't think the Toyota does this, is it's actually got a stall speed. It's actually got a rev limiter where I believe that they're actually going to have the sound of the motor, like they're going to actually limit the motor, so the motor can only spin at a certain RPM, so it will go go, of which will be cool. It's cool noises and stuff, if this is the case, obviously. I like the fact that the clutch, you know, is going to be something aggressive to feel out, and you're going to have to learn a clutch. You know, you can't just change gears. There we go, cool. You actually have to clutch in, change gears, or the car's gonna die and break. And honestly, I feel if car companies take this seriously, because I know a lot of car companies recently have just been so fixated on trying to make cars that are, you know, 10th of a second faster than another car, in a straight line, you know, top speed, or on a drag strip or something, or around a racetrack. A lot of us aren't actually interested in that in the car world. I understand, as a billionaire, millionaire, whatever the fuck, and you have money to go spend on a Ferrari or Lamborghini or whatever, and so on and so forth. Yeah, sure, you want the one with the most horsepower and that set this track lap record, and it accelerates this quickly. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like a lot of the car guys, like the proper guys, we don't really care about that because we'd make the car do what we want it to do anyway. For example, if we're taking it to the drag strip, then sure, we'll just chuck in a more aggressive clutch and a twin turbo kit. Cool. If we just going on like some mountain roads, then we're going to chuck on different rims and stickier tires, and then probably actually just leave the car there because, well, depending on the car, obviously. But my point is, we're going to make the car to what we want anyway, and a lot of the times, yes, we enjoy those higher-end sports cars and stuff, but a lot of the times we really like these little cars where they're more just for driver experience and driver fun, if you will. You get more pleasure out of driving this than you would a Mercedes SLK with the big V8, but it's an auto, if that makes sense. Because this, you're going to slap gears, and this has got boost noises and a gauge that goes and it shoots flames, and it's more dramatic, essentially. Whilst the Mercedes is probably quite tame, it's got traction control, which I suppose you could turn off, but we're speaking here, yeah. It's automatic, so it won't really spin, traction control, so it won't really spin, so on and so forth. Again, I do understand those higher end cars, especially when they got the big grunty engines, can't actually spin the wheels, and you can do burnouts in them even if they're auto, and so on and so forth. Oh my gosh. My point being is, a lot of times we're looking for driver experience, and if companies are willing to look into driver experience for electric cars, considering the fact that a lot of the driver experience is orientated around one of two things: sound or gears. Think about it. It's kind of all situated there. Yes, handling is there, but handling also, for example, when you're flicking into corners and stuff, depends on your gears. And the noises and stuff, well, I mean, it is, the Honda boys will know that it's great to hit the limiter. No, so my meaning is, like, it's so nice to have a turbo spool or supercharger or just a grunty V8 or naturally aspirated V10 or so on and so forth. So there's a very big segment that's now been removed from cars if we are to move to electric, which in its own thing is dumb because people think that it's more eco-friendly when it's really not. But anyway, moving on. My point is that if car companies are willing to add in manuals now for electric cars, it's bringing it back a step, and that's really good for us. It's really good for the car enthusiasts. It means that car companies haven't forgotten about the enthusiasts. Now, whether this be an aftermarket gearbox setup for this electric swapped Porsche, which I think it was, hence the company who is kind of promoting it, or if it is from Toyota Lexus, busy making these. I believe Porsche is busy working on their own anyway. I might be wrong about that. But, you know, it just means that car companies haven't forgotten us. They haven't forgotten the car enthusiasts who don't actually, like, yes, we care about top speed and how much horsepower and 0 to 60s and so on and so forth, but we also, sometimes we value driver experience over that stuff. For example, I know one of the Porsche 911s, the GT3s, they were only going to offer it in an auto because the auto was faster, and then like a lot of people were actually like, no, well, we want the manual. And you know, I know car companies look at that and they're like, but why? The auto is faster. Sometimes we don't care about faster. Sometimes we just want to, you know, row through the gears and make sure that the car sits at 9,000 RPM. If I had a naturally aspirated Porsche 911 GT3 RS and I could have it just sit at 9,000 RPM, who wouldn't, you know? Obviously, okay, people get my point there, you know, you're not rev banging, but yes, anyway, moving on. I don't know, just, I feel if car companies are willing to look into this, this is a great step for us, and a great step for, I don't know, car enthusiasts and those of us who, again, aren't necessarily interested in the top speeds and the performance and so on and so forth. We kind of just want a nice car to drive. I don't really know what else to say, and I have looped on myself a little bit here. So, yeah. I don't know. What else can I comment on? I don't really know. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens, as long as they basically, for the electric car movement, they leave us alone with our old combustion engine cars, us few who want to restore them, keep them running, keep them driving, so on and so forth. As long as they leave us alone and they're not, eventually like, listen, you can't even be driving this car anymore. I mean, there's literally still people who drive around in like restored Ford Model Ts or so on and so forth, which are death traps on wheels. So, and I understand, that's, saying it's a death trap on wheels compared to my car. Now imagine my car compared to electric cars. It's the same story. Imagine electric cars versus a Ford Model T. Oh my gosh. But my point is, in the future, obviously electric, or whatever we've ended up moving on to, if we have moved on to anything else in that matter, the irrelevant. Future cars are going to be a lot safer and so on and so forth, and they'll probably be obviously far more efficient than these. I'm just hoping that there's not going to be a restriction one day where they're going to just be like, listen, you can't even drive your car. If you want to drive your car, there's like a one track day per year that you can go take your car to. There, I'm going to be heavily depressed. Don't limit me on when I can or can't drive, because majority of the population, and by majority I mean literally 90% of it, is going to just follow and go off what you want people to be driving anyway. So whether that be hydrogen, electric, combustion engine, but on biofuels, who knows. My point is that is, where majority of people will end up going and following suit. And a lot of these car guys who think they're car guys because they just want a loud car and like big loud music and like to show off, essentially, they'll follow suit there because it's got the numbers, it's got the horsepower numbers, it's got the top speed, it's got the acceleration numbers, so on and so forth. And that's actually kind of where they're interested in. Even if we're talking about, for example, I drove that electric Golf. That electric Golf would probably still give my Turbo Miata a run for its money. So my point is, in the future, these guys that come with their 1 liter Ford Fiestas with the pops and crackles tune, they'll just move on to those because it's an electric whatever and it's faster and so on and so forth, and they'll still have the loud music, and they'll probably find a speaker system that adds a pops and crackles tune, because of course that's going to be a thing in the future. But my point is that, like, majority of the population, even if they claim to be car guys, they're not really car guys, they just move on to those. So even then, we're talking about a very small minority of guys who are literally just interested in the older cars because there's more of a connection, I suppose. Again, for me, it's not about top speed, it's not about acceleration, it's not about this, it's just about driver experience and driver feel. I want the manual gearbox, I want a, not necessarily no power steering, but like old school power steering that I can still feel a lot of what's happening. I want analog, well, I say analog gauges, surprise, I'm getting digital gauges in the future, but that's kind of the theme that I'm going with my car. But people get what I mean, okay? There's a more mechanical connection, a mechanical feel, than there is an electrical feel. I don't know if anything I said there has made sense to anybody, but yes. So yeah. Is there anything else that I really want to comment on? Not really, I guess. In short, manual electric cars, good. Please, car manufacturers, keep investing and looking into that, because I think it'll make a lot of, well, a small minority, sure, but it'll make a fair few people more interested, especially for things, example, like the Mazda MX-5. I'm assuming that the next generation MX-5 is either going to be a hybrid or go fully electric. And I feel a manual gearbox attached to that will just make, so many more people more happy, because that's kind of the point of an MX-5. It's supposed to be driver experience. It's not supposed to be top speed. It's not supposed to be so on and so forth. So yeah, as long as it's still oriented to driver experience, as well as some Porsches and stuff, I'm sure Porsche's also looking into it, I think we're fine. So car manufacturers, keep doing that, and for the rest of the world, please don't ban us from being able to drive our old combustion engine cars. So it was a meme, but it did actually get me thinking. There was a joke, a prank, if you will, that somebody played on a little community area where they said this is a emissions-free zone. So they've like put a whole bunch of signs and stuff outside the little residential area, and they were like, if you have a combustion engine car, you can't park here. You can only park if you've got an electric car. And as you can imagine, the whole like neighborhood emptied out, because there was just like one or two electric car owners, I should say, that were fine then to park. And I just thought that was very funny. It was a pretty good prank, no lies. When you see the full thing, it makes more sense. He put somebody else's phone number, so they got irritated. But anyway, moving on. But I'm nervous that that's like going to be a legitimate thing. Like certain neighborhoods are going to be like, listen, you can't actually bring your car here because it's combustion engine, and we don't need it belching CO2 into my child's face. Ask your child to not walk behind my car, perhaps, when I drive past. But yes, moving on. Why is your child on the road? Electric car or not, that's a bad idea. Anyway, moving on. So I don't know, yeah, it just made me a little bit nervous. Like, is this actually gonna like happen in the future? Are they gonna say like you can't enter particular zones because you're driving a combustion engine car? They're gonna make it more difficult for us to drive these. I'm gonna be honest, in my pessimistic view of the future, I kind of see it going that way, to be honest, because we are so outweighed when it comes to cars and our passion within cars. We are so heavily outweighed that I'm assuming that the future is just going to be, you might be allowed to drive your car in the future, but it's like it's going to be restricted to a weekend car, and you can go out into the canyons, which obviously is fine. I'll enjoy that, thank you. And like you can go to a coffee shop, park there, and then you drive back to your house, of which you might not even be able to get to your house per se. You might have to take it to a warehouse, and you're allowed to park it there. Otherwise, you have to be limited to an electric car. Again, if that's where the world is moving. Anyway, I meant to end the video about like 5 minutes ago, so let me end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and a comment down below on your thoughts. What are your thoughts on electric manuals? Anyway, moving on. So yeah, until next time, guys. Cheers.